Cowboys, Bikers, and Fishermen by Nina May. Narrated by Skip Lipman.
Red, Roscoe, and the Twins. Red pulled on the cracked leather strap with his left hand as he wrapped it around the other one, that had that same familiar look of age and industry. He paused before swinging his long leg over the horse's back in a dismount that had morphed its way into his DNA. His hesitation in leaving the comfort of the saddle for the drudgery of terra firma was the contrast of the two dimensions that he had lived between his whole life. He stepped out of the stirrup and gently slipped the bridle off his friend's head. They had shared the same space for years, as he preferred his horse to one of the utility vehicles on the ranch. He said those toys are for city folk who just pretend to be ranchers. Just thinking about those folks made his creased face disappear into a set scowl that suggested a difficult life, even though he had never had any real obstacles to overcome other than the day-to-day life of a typical ranch. Red just seemed to have been born with a chip on his shoulder. There was no real, clear reason to explain the sense of martyrdom he would regularly thrust on his brothers Stan and Sonny. And their father, as kind and sweet as he was, could not convince Red that a gentle demeanor was preferred to being perpetually angry. As he threw the saddle on the rack and removed the blanket, those same worn, chapped hands that conveyed a life of hard work and toil moved slowly and gently over the neck of his best friend he called Horse. Why name a horse, he would argue, when his grandsons would suggest different names? He's a horse, so that's what I call him, Horse. No point was worth the brittle path of unjustified argument that Red would take you on if you challenged even illogical or half-baked ideas. There was no winning, and his sons, Roscoe and Jimbo, had learned this reality in their youth, and had mastered the skill of passive-aggressive involvement with their dad. Red stormed into the barn looking for Roscoe, not really needing a reason to be angry, since he was always upset about one thing or another. If it wasn't about the mess the country was in, it was about nosy neighbors giving him a hard time for raising cattle and destroying the natural expanse of the land with miles of barbed wire fences. He had no patience for them and would remind whoever would listen as many times it would take to have them stop listening that his ancestors had settled that land before Texas was even a state. He felt like a man with frostbite who had to face the reality that his fingers were dead and they had to be removed to keep the hand from rotting off. His inheritance was 3,000 acres, and it dwindled.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?